I'm gonna call the Shorewood Park Sanitary District meeting for December 2023 to order. We'll start off with doing roll call. We'll just start down here to my left.
Matt Anderson, director, I guess.
Dean Findell.
Rich Stork.
Paul Sleazer.
Sue Means, Tina Heidelberger.
All right, I guess then next thing we're gonna do is move to the approval of the minutes. The minutes were distributed via email, and then we do have them in front of us now. Can I get a motion? Is there anything that can I get a motion to approve the minutes, the unapproved minutes from last November?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. November meeting minutes have been approved with no changes as provided for us. All right, so minutes are there. I'm gonna wait on the wastewater operator update since he is busy bringing some stuff in. I'll just move right into the chairman update and we'll circle back to the wastewater update. The last month of November, coming into December, mainly was working with the expansion group. We did hold a meeting in November 21st. There was a pretty good group and there is some pretty good participation with that. Dean and myself were there with, I think, 4 or 5 of the residents that have been pretty well involved with it. Main topic that was talked about, and we'll bring this up here as we get down through the agenda, is we need approval to sign a contract for HR Green to proceed with the EPA paperwork. That contract is for an amount of $15K at this point, but that will get the ball moving to get that EPA grant and funds coming our way. The other thing that has to happen to get moving forward with this is a need to sign a letter to the EPA, and that form letter has been provided to us. I do have a copy of it. It basically just states that we will be working with HR Green and they will be our point of contact for the EPA to assist us with working with that grant money. We talked about some funding with Northland Securities. The expansion group did reach out to Tina to work separately with them for their bookkeeping at an hourly wage of $25 per hour, I believe. And then Tim Corby will be at that meeting, and I'm sure there'll be a cost for him to be at that meeting. But I'll let Dean explain more on what's going on with the expansion when we get to that agenda. MAP assistance. There's been communication with that particular group. Again, they are a funded entity provided by the government, based on, and Carrie, you can help me with that, based on, certain things that they can provide the assistance to us for free. And they would
Technical assistance.
Yep, that would be assistance on the expansion, and also, verifying and kind of ratifying where we are with the bylaws. So we're hopeful on that assistance based on the
MAP, you said MAP, correct?
Yeah, it's MAP, and that stands for
Oh, jeez.
Midwest Assistance
I
Program.
think so.
yeah, Midwest Assistance Program, and that program did help with the original bylaws back in the 80s. So that they have been around for a while.
And I think they helped create that board manual, that big black 3-ring binder
That-
board
yeah,
manual with
right.
that. Yeah.
And kind of the operating responsibilities.
Yeah.
And that's a document that is current and it's located in the pump house, and some of us have that with us. It's a big fat document with a bunch of mumbo jumbo in it.
And I think that Chris had said he'd seen the expansion plan that was done a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So I don't know if you had talked to him about that.
Yeah, Chris hasn't reached out to
He was
me
able
since you sent that email yet.
Okay, but he had seen that and I indicated it would need to be done right from what you're
Right.
thinking, so.
So hopefully we can get involved here soon, and they can see the whole process starting to go as we move forward with it again. The other thing I worked on is I was reached out, I kind of give you guys a report on some of the submissions I came across over the month. Both Matt and myself do see them. I was, a new party or some people are interested in buying another lot at the Rush Lake Estates, that's the old Peterson Resort. And they were questioning, they had questions about the sanitary district, how it works.
Was that Graff by any chance? Was that the name?
No, the name is Wilkinson, George Wilkinson.
Okay, because I got a call today, so I just want to make sure it wasn't the same.
Okay, so now, they're basically are just working out an agreement, I don't know if that's really what it was, and they were just fishing for some information
Okay.
on how the expansion worked and how they would, potentially be part of the expansion or be part of the sanitary district if sewer is provided for them. And I kind of gave them a brief breakdown of what was going on with that particular property. I did exchange a couple emails with the Kylo residents again. And that is one of the people down in the lower circle off Lakeside Circle that we have I&I with. And they would like to, try to find out where that I&I is coming. I'd like to address that situation with Terry and come up with a good plan to assist them. And Terry, quite frankly, at this point, it's probably down really low now. I don't know if that's something we target in the spring,
Yeah, ideally, when we got high water in the spring.
and then we
Well,
can
unless it goes
identify.
slow.
He did mention to me that he doesn't have sump pumps. So
He
he
does or doesn't?
does not.
Oh,
So he's concerned that it is something to do with his lateral or his main drain coming from the house, so it could be, it seemed like there was an awful lot of water,
Yeah,
or
there was
just
a lot.
that.
there was a lot of flow coming out of there,
Right.
so.
So I
And it
think,
was clean, so it tends to be milkier, just call it if it's something different than coming out of the house, so.
right. So I think the first thing is, what I suggested to him is that we meet on site with myself, you, and then he mentioned possibly a plumber to scope the line out.
We can run the cameras, that's, which camera?
Okay, so that's something you possibly could do to help us.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, let me, I'll share an email back and forth with him, and quite frankly, I think it almost serves us better now to wait till the spring
Yeah.
to address
You
it.
might see something if it's something internally in the house or something, but we can check it too. I put the manhole in first, we can pop it open and see if it's still the same amount of flow there, so.
Okay, he's retired, so I have no problem setting that up with you if he wants to go between now and the first of the year yet.
Next time when Bill, next week, Monday, I'll pop over the manhole and see if there's anything. If there is, then I'll contact you and we can set it up and try
Okay.
to look at it now, but it might have to wait till spring, but we'll see.
All right, sounds good. I'll just shoot off an email and I'll CC you on that, so you're in the communication and you can respond to it one way or the other.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. That's all I have for the operator, the chair report for this month, other than monitoring what our busiest committee is doing, and that's our bylaws committee. So, that's been a lot of great information too. So let's move right into what Terry has for us for his report for the month.
Folder down, must be winter. Like the highest was just over 12,000 one day, and the lowest was just under 7,000, 6,900 something.
That's great.
Yeah, so the folder down there, and discharge went good, everything went good. A lot of deer on that pond, a lot
Okay.
of deer hunters.
Yeah, there was one question, did you get the hard lids on?
Yep,
Hard lids are on? Okay, good. When's our next quarterly due?
I did it right before we did the discharge, so we should be good for this year. I might have to do one more, I'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, so,
Because that was October, so that'd be the last quarter.
yep. All right, sounds good.
But yeah, things are buttoned up and should be good.
All right. Well, that was easy, all good news.
Do you want that plowed if it snows or anything too? I would have the plow anyhow, but we
Well,
gotta get some snow first, but.
typically the way it was taken care of before was we contracted that out because our operator didn't have a plow. So it was really just that to gain access back there for, you know, our personal operator, but, I would say that if you have to go back there, you gotta plow to go back there and you can take care of that, right? That was
Yeah,
part of the deal.
I'll just keep it open for the winter. I mean, with a little luck, we don't have to worry about it.
Right, I mean, the only reason we need to really keep it plowed is if something happens, and you're the
Yeah,
one
it's
that's kind of
really-
monitoring it
yeah.
anyways, right?
Yep, just to get back to him, you know, make sure nothing weird has happened, but.
Right, I mean, you kind of monitor at least once a month,
Yep.
walking back there. I kind of drive back there with my side-by-side too when I'm bored, don't have anything else to do. All right, very good. Let's move into the finance update.
All right, everyone should have a copy of the updated budget year-to-date of our expenses so far. Our current checking account balance as of today was $59,264.68. That was because of a recent deposit that we just had from the county. I have not gotten the breakdown yet of what those monies are for, but we had a deposit of $10,364.42 from the auditor's office. So I will give a breakdown of that once I have it, of where those monies are from, if they're assessments or past due collections, so.
And then what did you do with that? What bucket did we put that money in?
So right now, it's just in our checking account. We can move that. We need to decide where to move it to, I guess.
I think we decided right now, until we could define them funds, I think we decided to put that in the, what did we call that? I want to call it the slush fund, but we had another name for it. For future investments, or, what do we have that bucket here?
Of course, I don't have the copy right in front of me. Shoot. I can look, and we'll come back to
It's going to
that.
be in the minutes too, because
Yep.
we talked about it, so it was in the last minutes. I want to find out what we did call that. Financial report.
It's for next year. Yeah, it's not this one.
We allocate that money toward our investment fund.
Investment fund, yep, thank you.
Yep. All right, sorry, you can carry on.
That's all I have for that.
Dean?
Okay, unfortunately, I couldn't make last month's meeting, so I have a few backup statements here right now, and kind of I want to suffice this to be saying that the interest rates are up, so our value of our investment fund is down, but our actual money is still there. So our fund is now valued at $183,556.40. But our actual cost basis for the money that we actually have in there is $196,002.40. So if we were to try to sell it, we'd lose money on it, but as it goes along, it would work out to be, you know, we'll get our interest off of it, and at the end, we get the $196,000 back, so.
What's it in, Dean? Are you saying it's in a CD or something that it's not
It's
at full
an
value right now?
investment fund, yeah.
What's an investment, what kind of investment fund? Like bonds or a CD
It's
or stuff?
I don't think it's a CD.
It's a bond, I believe.
Bond, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, at 2.75%.
Okay,
So because now everybody's up closer to 5%, the value of it is down.
Correct.
But it's still there. But we've still been getting our interest off of that, so our cash account is now up to $22,477.96. I'll pass those down. Those are the last 3 months. They were doing it on quarterly, and I talked to them, and they changed us back to monthly statements, because I said we had monthly meetings, and we needed to have that done, so.
Well, that'll make it a little bit easier to follow them too.
Right. That's it for that, I believe.
All right, presentations of bills, approval of bills.
So for this month, I only have 2 bills. I have East Central Energy, which has already been paid, that's automatically debited from our account. And then I have a bill from LJJ Wastewater, I will pass those down. kind of ties into bills, but I did receive an email from MTVL and just saying that they're going to be increasing their rates. So there's going to be a price increase of 3 to 5% starting January 1st. So we will be seeing that on our future bills, so.
We kind of predicted that, right?
Yep.
All right, old business, expansion. I'm gonna let Dean kind of really touch base on some of the things I mentioned in our report, my report, and what the progress is and where we're going with the expansion at this point.
We've had a couple of meetings with a smaller group to try to get some information out to them to see how we want to proceed with this. And right now, Rich has talked about that we have a contract to sign with HR Green. And so that's hopefully going to be done Thursday. We've invited the whole neighborhood of the expansion group, and we're just going to go through and talk to them about it and say, at this point, we'll start collecting bills. So, you know, it probably won't be for a couple of months, but at some point, we're going to have to figure out the financing for it. I've contacted Northland Securities. They've gotten some good information back. They could do some bonding, but that might not be the best way to go. It might be best to go through a bank and get construction financing for this. It might be a little cheaper and easier to do it that way, and they'll help with a bank if we don't have one that we want to use or get one that would want to do this. So basically, I would assume that if we did that, then we'd have a one bonding deal at the end for people that didn't want to pay their share up front and go on to an assessment deal. That's just kind of my thoughts right now. So we're going to have a meeting Thursday, and I think HR Green's going to be there, and we'll discuss that and perhaps get started on it.
I do have the contract. The contract was basically, the rough draft was written back in July, so there's a lot of dates that need to be amended on it, and a few other little items I want to get cleared up. One thing I do have to stress, and I guess the board would really need a kind of decision here, is we are probably going to start paying some bills towards this again until the funding gets here. That's when we're going to get that money back. We can pull that funding off right away and get ourselves whole. That's the way that it's been explained to us.
Does that include interest then, Mitch? I mean, if we're gonna fund this, are we still gonna earn dollars on our money if we're using it for that purpose?
Well, that's a good question. So, I mean, the only thing that we really have to start paying for, depending on how long we can beat this off, you know, off of our back so that we don't get it put on us, is it's basically the contract I'm looking at is for $15,000, and that's to do the paperwork for the grant. That's the grant work paperwork. That's what this contract I'm doing, I'm signing, or will sign with approval, based on the information from HR Green, is to get that grant money coming our way, all right? They said that can take up 4 to 6 months. So the only one that's really gonna be the bills that we're gonna accrue during this process is whatever it costs for Tina to do her work, and whatever HR Green starts to bill us, and if we have to get legal involved.
On top of the 15.
On top of the 15. So basically in the budget, that we provided for the expansion, I think we budgeted 20 to 25K. Now, what I want to make it clear to them in that meeting then is if this all falls through, they have to be aware that we'll be assessing them for that money again. So I just want to make sure that that is brought up in that meeting before I sign the contract, and they all understand that. Clarity and them understanding was kind of the biggest thing, that hurdle that we had to get over in the whole thing before. So I just want to make sure that they're aware. If for some reason this falls out from underneath us and this goes away, we're spending, you know, anywhere from 15 up to 25 grand again, they're going to be responsible for that money, and we'll assess them for that again. And I think they're pretty full aware of that at this particular point.
I believe most of them are, yes.
Okay. So the way that I'm going to approach it in that meeting is I want to clear up the contract with Corby, make sure that that's taken care of. I I can get a copy of this out to you guys if you want to see it, if any of you guys have any questions on it. But that will be the next steps with the expansion. Are there any questions? Okay,
Where are we at with the other assessment from the previous monies involved? How
what,
many years was that?
That's basically, it was a 5-year payback at 4% interest, I believe. And that's the money that Tina's been getting, at least part of it, from the county.
And what year are
So
we
we're
at?
on the end of year 2, so we have 3 more years of getting those payments in.
one of the things that's gonna have to happen with this expansion, based on the grant, is we're really gonna have to concentrate on balancing the books. Because they have a lot of different opportunities. Basically with the budget, based on where we're at now, and it's just guesswork, there's a shortfall of about $500,000 that would be assessed on those people, or they can pay us. And that's where the bonding and so on and so forth comes into play. But I think what happens with the grant money, it's possible to pay off all our debts, and we can get whole and clean this up. So it's just a matter of manipulating the monies and where things are gonna go as we move through this process. So one of the things that does have to happen is, where exactly are we with that last assessment? Who owes what and who doesn't know? That all has to be vetted out, really, is what has to happen, lot by lot. That's one thing that we really need to get sorted out.
So you said there could be a $500,000 shortfall?
But basically, it's about $450,000 would be the shortfall with the grant money, all right? Basically, I think the grant is for 1.9 million. Our budget is basically right around, I think, 1.7. This is all budget work, it's all just off the best available information. They will only give us 80% of whatever the total cost is.
Yeah.
So with that shortfall, it comes up to a shortfall based on the numbers and that budgets. If you want to see those budgets, we can kick that out, of roughly $440,000 based on the whole budget. So that's an assessment of about 20 grand per household over there.
Okay, that's the next question.
Yep.
Okay. Is that the 20% of the 1.7 mil?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
The 450 or 500?
Right. And they had the choice of, and they can get credit off the grant money to drop that total down. It's all just moving monies around, but the bottom line is it's about $20,000 per household is what they're gonna end up paying for a sewer system, depending on where the numbers come.
On top of what they've been assessed already.
No.
That's included in
That's
there.
included.
We've been
Okay.
assessed about 130,000 already, so
Right.
if you took that 20,000 down, and brought it down to 15 or 14 or whatever.
Okay.
That's why we may end up paying off the original assessment and starting all back over again. That's probably the way that'll happen, is we'll wipe it clean, and then the new assessment will go out.
Okay.
But that all has to be worked out here during the whole process. Are there any other questions on the expansion?
You may have covered this, but wasn't the 1.9 short of what they needed in total?
No.
No.
It isn't, that'll cover the whole thing.
Right, so
Okay.
even,
The original plan was that part of that would be used for pond expansion if needed, or maintenance, repairs. And nothing has been brought up that needs to be done, so.
we can spend up to 1.9 million, which means it'd be, we could, depending on what they come in with the numbers of the design, we could add to that design to spend up to that 1.9 million, because it's really just a slide rule, right? So we could potentially take care of some other issues based on how we tie into our system. And it might be, maintenance to our pumps, fix a manhole, depending on where they tie in or whatever. It'd make more sense to spend up that 1.9 if it all works out, because that's really not gonna change the amount that they're gonna pay, because they're always gonna pay up to 80% of whatever our top dollar's gonna be. So that's the stuff that we will try to work towards. With the expansion, we're gonna have to, we are gonna have to add some stuff to our system depending on how they tie in. So it's an advantage to bring them in and do some updates, I believe. Any other questions? Okay, very good.
So when do they think they'd start then? If we're talking getting funding and,
Well, the funding would be,
paperwork finalized again?
well, they would hope that if we can, if everything goes well, I would say that it's possible that they are actually doing the install in the summer, late summer.
This one?
It could be done by 2024,
Okay.
2024. That would be the ultimate goal.
Okay,
But I think it might reach into it all depends on how things go.
right, okay, thanks.
And there have been some of my neighbors pushing and wanting it done next summer,
Right.
assuming that things are gonna be cheaper rather than going another year.
And more expensive,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
They're becoming a lot more motivated than they have been in the past.
Dean, do you still have a number of neighbors that are against doing this? You know,
We
when I think
had
of that.
16 people that voted for it,
Okay,
and 5 that voted no,
okay.
and 2 that didn't respond.
Yep.
So you could figure 2 or 3 of those 5 either are really against it terribly, or they just said no and don't care. I wouldn't be able to tell you because nobody knows for sure why their reason was for no. But
Could they still be assessed the 20 grand or the 20% even though maybe they aren't gonna hook up to it?
That's how it works.
Okay, just clarification.
yeah.
Yep. All right, we're gonna move into the bylaws update.
Did we need to have approval of the contract? I see you got it on here.
I do have it. I think, here's my stance on it. It's not ready to be signed yet because it's not correct based on the information that's in there. So it needs to be amended.
Okay.
I think that I will get that amended, so it's either one or two things. I look for approval during the month, or we get the approval, sign the paperwork, and get it out the first part of January,
Okay.
all right?
Sounds good.
That's the only reason that I want to hesitate on it.
Okay.
And then January meeting's early, moving a week earlier.
Right, so we're really just putting off just 3 more weeks is kind of where it's going, pushed off to. Anything else? All right, bylaws update.
Yes, so the bylaws committee has completed their work, creating a new set of bylaws. Everybody should have a copy. Has everybody had a chance to read that? And I guess now would be the point where we would want to hear any shortfalls you see in it, or anything you would want to add, or I know we've been sending emails behind the scenes, and there was discussion within the group that went on for quite a while, so it was hashed out quite a bit, about how we go about assigning duties to board members. And we settled on having 5 positions, a chair, a vice chair. But instead of naming a treasurer, a communications, and a single at-large position, we decided to go with an at-large 1, at-large 2, and at-large 3. And we view it that way because we feel that the 3 at-large members can then share in the duties, even though there will be accountability and people will be responsible for specific duties, that it'd be easier moving forward into the future for future boards to figure out who excels in certain areas and who would rather do certain things, and it doesn't kind of pigeonhole, people that are appointed for, say, treasurer, being treasurer until they resign. So having the at-large members will allow the positions to kind of be more fluid. Any questions or comments on the way that went?
No, I think that, quite frankly, it just gives us the the opportunity for the duties, like you said, to shift from one person to the other, and it's not just, like you said, holding everybody's still continuing to do the work, and it's not landing on one person,
Yeah, it's basically how we've been functioning now.
Yep.
Nobody's, said position, although Dean, you are kind of referred to as the treasurer. But,
Yeah,
it's not really gonna
It's
change
not.
your duties specifically.
Right.
Per se. So that's just kind of the way we figured. And the thing is that future boards can change these rules however they'd like. So we just kind of wanted to lay it out in a way where it is flexible. And because that's kind of been the overlying request of everyone, is to keep it simple and,
Right.
and keep it flexible. And so that's kind of the way that landed. The other piece of this, and you all should have a copy of this as well, is the oath of office and code of conduct page. It's just it's a short 2-page deal, kind of explains the board members' oath of office that they'll take annually. They'll be expected to sign off on that responsibility, and those duties are listed, as well as a code of conduct that discusses conflicts of interest and keeping the interests of the Shorewood Park District on the up and up. And then there's also, that's on the first page, and the second page is examples of conflicts of interest and principles for dealing with conflicts of interest, and how, again, like, we really haven't had those types of issues, but as we've had them in the past in previous board incantations, and so we figure that it's just a good way for people to kind of acknowledge that financially things need to be neutral, and people shouldn't be going into this, to becoming a board member thinking they're going to gain financially, or the family's going to gain financially, and it kind of just addresses that. So all in all, that's kind of the main two things that I wanted to discuss with everyone about this. And if the duties seem okay with everyone and the code of conduct is agreeable, which I think it's pretty straightforward. I don't think there's anything that's too piercing in there that anybody would have an issue with. I think it's pretty honorable. So with that, I guess I would ask for approval of the bylaws. And if we're not ready to do that, then if people need more time to read it or need more time to think about certain things, we can do it next month. But in the interest of saving time, in the interest of moving the board ahead on schedule, according to our bylaws, our next financial year, our next quote-unquote calendar year would start in January. So if we sign the bylaws today, then we're exactly on track to just kind of butt right up to the calendar year and start then.
And I apologize, I did not print the other pages. I just printed the main bylaws, so that's my fault.
Oh, okay. I'm happy to read the code of conduct if folks would like to hear that.
Code of conduct, I'm okay with what I see here. Like
You have it there.
I
Okay.
do have it here.
Okay.
And it's pretty self-explanatory. I know you guys worked hard and put a lot of time in it. You reached out to a lot of different sources. I haven't had a time to really digest 100%. I've skimmed it. I've heard about it in many different ways. Again, if we had to make any changes, we have that ability to do that in the future if something does pop out at us. That's the way that I feel at this point. I feel that we're probably okay to move forward with it based on all the hard work that you guys have done, and I trust what you guys have done with that, and I do appreciate it. That's my stance on it. We did get a motion to approve them. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
She's going
Oh,
to be
she's-
abstaining, I guess.
Well, she's on the bylaws committee, so I would assume that she'd be all right with that. So.
Well, based on that, I think it's been approved.
Great. Yes, I'd like to thank Carrie and thank Michelle and thank Sue and thank Paul. We've put upwards of, I would imagine between 12 or 15 and 20 hours meeting together the last 2 months, and it's been a spirited debate, and all 5 of us have come down on different sides of different issues, and not all of us aligned all the time, and we were able to kind of move forward and do what's best in the interest of, number one, keeping it simple, and number two, keeping our district in a standard, standard functioning way. So, thank you guys.
Again, I gotta thank you too. It's just a good indication that we've been moving in the right direction. And again, really, really appreciate it. It shows that we.
Will these things be posted then on the website too?
I will post it on the website.
Statutes? Okay.
Let's make it official. If you wouldn't mind signing that, Rich, and then Dean or somebody else may want to be the attest signature.
Sure.
So the bylaws are meant to be used in conjunction with the Minnesota statutes. It's not to replace, they're to be used together, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do refer to the Minnesota statute, the current Minnesota statutes in our bylaws several times. Like Michelle said, this is kind of our flavor of what we're doing.
So December 11th, 2023.
It's the
Today's the 11th?
Yeah.
Today's the 12th.
You lost me.
Yeah, December 11th, 2023.
12.
Is it 12?
Yes.
I put down 11th when I said 12. 10:19.
No, you
Yeah.
said
What
12.
you said?
You said 12.
I said 12.
I mean, you said 11, I mean.
The last day of this year will be 1-2-3, 1-2-3.
Yeah.
12/31/23. Isn't that kind of
Do you want to
weird?
make that a 2, buddy?
Yeah.
We've done everything official right up to there, so you want to just keep that. Thank you, sir.
No,
Thank you.
official one?
Yeah, you're good. And I'll get this on the website, along with the code of conduct. And I think that in the bylaws, it states the 1st of January, the January meeting, all board members are to take the oath of office, so that we'll do that in January then.
And that'll be the second, I believe, of January.
Okay, January 2nd. That's all we have for that.
All right. Let's move on to new business. Position agreement for 2024 appointment for current members.
Okay, yes, so in the bylaws, on an annual basis, it gives us the ability to, without, just as an automatic kind of deal, we can decide, the chairman, first of all, the chairman will decide, does the chairman want to be chairman another year? And then it'll kind of go from there, and then we'll elect a vice chair, or appoint, I shouldn't say elect, the board will then appoint a vice chair, and then the remainder of the board can then kind of shuffle and figure out how they want to handle the rest of the responsibilities.
Okay.
So if we want to do that today, how do you feel about being chair another year, sir?
I will step up to be chair for another year.
Great. Then I guess the next point of business would be to appoint a vice chair, because we haven't had a vice chair. So I guess I would ask of Sue, Dean, and I, because Paul, you're
Yeah, I resigned.
voluntarily resigning,
I
okay.
resigned, I wouldn't be able to
Okay,
be on the 85% rule, and
Okay.
on the 2nd of January, I'll be on a plane to Arizona.
gotcha, okay.
It's a better deal.
Of the
Where's
three
your
of us,
priorities?
I would be happy to be vice chair, so I guess I would throw my hat in the ring. Dean or Sue?
I wouldn't mind wherever needed.
So, Matt, let's assume you be vice chair.
Is that your vote?
That's my vote.
All right,
I'm fine with you being vice chair.
okay.
And two.
Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate that. I happily accept. And with that said, this is kind of how we planned for something like this to happen. Since I am quote-unquote communications and I handle the website and anything media related or communications related, I would just go ahead and continue doing that because the vice chair is more or less a position that is needed when it's needed. And there isn't really any underlying duties. However, I will say, as a point of practice moving forward that the vice chair kind of picks up the slack. So if there are things that Sue and Dean and the new board member can't do, doesn't feel confident doing, that's where I would step up and take care of that and fill in those holes. Or the vice chair in general, I should say, should fill those holes. So until we have a new board member appointed, and if Sue and Dean don't feel comfortable doing the communications, I'll just continue doing that until we either have somebody, we have a committee together possibly, or, so that's how we'll handle that. And I guess the other big piece of that, of the position shuffling, would be the roads and parks, since Paul is resigning and he did the roads. We've kind of combined, since now we have the mowing and the fire pit issue that we had over the last year, and now that we own the land underneath the channels, the parks is becoming more and more an actual issue that we have to deal with, and we should have somebody assigned to that. And also treasurer. So those are the two, the person in charge of Michelle, how did you word it? All receipts?
Oh,
Yeah.
disbursements and investments. It's the oversight, and they're ultimately responsible for receipts, disbursements, and investments.
Investments. So, Dean, you've been that for a while now, and I guess that's kind of the big change that the bylaw committee saw coming at us, is that Tina, Tina does an excellent job with our finances and with payments and et cetera, we feel that a board member should be, either helping Tina or at a bare minimum, just being a second pair of eyes for Tina and for the board and for the community to make sure that all the T's are being crossed and all the I's are being dotted. So the board would like, or the bylaws committee would like to see the board position who is responsible for the treasurer duties have access to the QuickBooks and the payments and et cetera, et cetera. So is that something that you would be comfortable doing and that you'd want to move
Yeah, I'd
forward?
be comfortable with that, partly because with the expansion, we have to make sure we keep the numbers separate, and that's one thing I really want to make sure. And Tina and I work together quite a bit on some of this stuff, and we'll be working together a lot more, and I think it'll be more comfortable to do that, so.
Great.
I know for the next year or so, we're probably going to have all this jumble up stuff, but with the monies, and so we need to keep them right. And we don't want to use Shorewood Park money for the expansion, but we want to make sure that everything is done fairly.
So with that being said, if we want to add Dean to the QuickBooks to have access, with the QuickBooks subscription that we have right now, it's licensed to one desktop. So with the new year coming up, with the expansion and everything, I don't know if I can make a proposal or not, but I think that we need to move to the QuickBooks that allows us to have it on, it's different. I don't know how to explain it best right now, but so basically he would have access, you would have from any computer. So you could just log in. It's like the online version of, that's the word, the online version of QuickBooks versus a desktop license for one person. So I think that, and there is an expense to that. Obviously it's going to be more expensive to do that, but I think that for this situation, that's probably what we need to do going forward.
Would it be just one person, or would it be for multiple licenses? Would it be, is it just 1 and 2, A and B, or would it be your primary and there's other people, if they have access, or we grant access, they could?
So I think what it would be is we would just pay for one license, but he could access it with the same user ID, so he could access it as well, the same account. I would have to find out from QuickBooks, I don't know.
So you'd have multiple people being able to access it, right?
If she gave them the
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
username and password. Does that have editing abilities?
Well, that's what I need to find out.
That's the scary
because
part, yeah.
Yeah, if it needs to be so that you can view it, but you can't make changes to
Correct.
it. Because,
And that's what I would rather have. because
Yeah.
I'd rather be able to look at it, and if I have a question, I would go to you.
because I wouldn't want to see you accidentally run aging
No.
on something and all of
Well,
a
he could write a
sudden.
check to me, I would be okay with that.
Yeah,
Well, I think
So
just-
you'll look into that and find
I'm
out.
gonna have
for
to
us.
find out more about that, but that is something that we're gonna have to do, I think. if we want to have, for checks and balances, yes, we would need to have a different kind of access to QuickBooks.
Sure, and with that said, I mean, I know the way that the bylaws committee worked on our bylaws is we used Google Suite, and there's an editor, but the editor can give viewing rights to everyone else. So I know that that technology is out there,
Yep.
and hopefully that's how they do things. And with that said, I would advocate that all board members should just at least be able to see it.
Yep.
You know, I think the more the merrier, and as long as Tina's the one that does the movement,
Yep.
I think that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, from a checks and balances, the only thing that I will say is that you don't have access, it's not looking at our banking information though. Because that doesn't show you, QuickBooks doesn't have anything to do with our account at Unity. That's totally a separate component of it. So Dean needs to be able to access our checking account to actually have a better view of what's going on. So
Okay.
that's more imperative if we're looking at a checks and balances, that he has access to that.
Sure.
Because with QuickBooks, it's just gonna tell you balances on accounts, past due accounts, that kind of thing. It's not gonna go into
The actual finance.
actual financing.
Yeah.
And that's where, if we were to be audited, that's what they're gonna wanna look at more than
Yeah.
anything. So just putting that out there.
Okay. So you're gonna follow up, and we're gonna figure out
Yeah.
the QuickBooks stuff, but we're gonna try to gain access, and we're gonna move forward with another point and take on that expense.
Can I throw out a suggestion here, Tina?
Mhm.
As you're doing this, can you document this? I know the bylaws committee had talked about having processes and procedures,
Mhm.
and this might be one of those that be documented down, so if the treasurer ever, if you ever leave the job,
Yep.
and somebody else comes in and we change treasurers, we know what steps to have to take to make this clear.
Yes, there needs to be I agree, like succession planning,
Yeah.
because if something happened to me, like I was in an accident, or no one can step into my role right now and take that over to run statements. So it is in our best interest to have something in writing of, if you had to put a pinch for
Tim call it the death box. Here's how to
Yep.
figure out.
Yeah, but I mean, that's, we do need to have those, things in place, so.
So that leaves the last two positions kind of open, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know, do we really need to define them based on that open position, and we can define it after we replace or find a new person that is interested for the board?
We kind of discussed both ways, like Sue then deciding what she would like to handle, and it sounds like, Sue, you've been happy doing kind of what you've been doing with, kind of following up the loose ends and odds and ends kind of duties, welcoming neighbors to the community with.
Jack of all trades, master.
Yep.
Okay. So really,
And where I need it.
what we're defining then is the open position is really gonna, the major duties is gonna be the roads
And parks.
and parks and facilitating the steps to keep them going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so how do we make this so?
I think we just did.
Okay, we did.
Yeah, so, I have posted the vacancy on the website, and I believe Tina has posted it on the pump house.
Yep, it's on the pump house.
So I think we should just let that ride another, until our next meeting. We've had 2 interested parties interested in being board members. I would also advocate that we, on this letter that we're about to talk about, that we also notify the community that there is a vacancy, because it's not 100% guaranteed that everyone's checking the pump house or everybody looks at the website. So if we mail that vacancy out with that letter, perhaps at the end or wherever you decide, then we know that our entire community has been notified of it, and everybody that wants to be a potential board member can have that opportunity.
Okay, so based on some information that I have, so it's actually 3 people now interested.
Oh, it is 3? Oh, okay.
Right, and those 3 parties are here.
Oh, okay, great.
That's Al Powers, and that's Michelle, and I think Tina did stress some interest, Carrie
Oh,
expressed some interest in that position.
Okay.
also. So,
You can do double roll.
yeah. So I think what we'll do is we will move forward on it tonight. Now you guys, we've kind of put the basis out there, what's that, do we need to kind of just kind of list those duties a little bit? And if there was some clarification on what those particular duties are, we would be able to respond to that also.
Yes, and with that said, I also sent out an email to everybody about said duties, about what everybody does. I did my best, and Michelle and Carrie and I, we kind of did our best to put a duties list together. But I know, Rich, I don't know everything that you've been doing. And the treasurer position is kind of, those duties are kind of new, so getting that list together. But we left it informal, it's nothing in stone, it's something that we just, if folks want to reply to that email with items, I'll get all that on the website, because I was going to post all of our duties on the website so everybody knows what everybody does all the time.
Based on what I've seen on those duties, it basically is pretty generic, but covers just about everything
Okay.
that I do cover.
Okay.
And again, we always work as an open board on issues that,
Yeah.
we do need help with, so I think in black and white, it looks good on the duties that you posted to the
I
chair.
didn't see anything out of line, so.
Okay. The one position I know nothing about, and I'm ashamed that I don't, is Tina. I just don't know all the things, because I know you do so many things. But also, we're going to need to know those things anyway to come up with your contract.
Yep. Okay.
So that would be, I guess I'll work with you and we can put our heads together on that. And
So we do have, so now we've just moved into the outside contractors, and we have 3 main outside contractors. We have our wastewater operator, and we know his duties based on the information that we put together and on his contract, which are tied together. So we have that information. We have the snow plowing, and we know based on the agreement contract, what we have with them and what their duties are. And basically, that would be morphed if we went outside and got another contractor. And then we have Tina, which is the last one we really need to nail down the duties of the clerk based on the
Rasmussen
information.
also is another
yeah, that's a
contract,
new one. Yeah.
Rasmussen for plowing,
or for mowing.
for mowing, so we should ask them for, we really don't have a contract from them, do we?
No, we don't,
No.
and I had asked them for their certificate of limited liability, I have that on file.
Okay,
And I have Terry's, but we don't have a contract with them technically.
all right. I'll reach out to them and see if we can't get something in writing as far as what the responsibilities are and what we do for them plowing based on, based on what our agreement is with them. We just really need an agreement in writing.
Do we need a certificate of limited liability from Muddy Gap?
Boy, that's a good question. Muddy Gap is contracted
With the town?
with the township, and we have an agreement with the township for them to provide a service with us.
Okay.
So I think that the insurance is with the township.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Okay.
I would think so.
You would think so.
Okay.
Yeah, wouldn't hurt to have a copy of it anyway.
No,
Whether if we get it for the township, not for them.
I can ask him.
Yeah.
I can text Heather right now.
Yeah, why don't you ask Heather? That'd be perfect. All right.
I think that covers all of it.
Any questions from anybody? I like where we're moving. All right. So I guess as far as the timeline, I think we hopefully settle in on appointing somebody by the end of January, basically, right? Based on whoever is interested, or do we approach it at our January meeting based on the information that we have now?
So how the bylaws committee kind of saw that happening is at meeting one, instead of months, just meeting one, we post the vacancy, which would be this month.
Okay?
Meeting two, we get together, we have our candidate group, and then by meeting three, we have had interviews and are ready to appoint somebody.
So the timeline is they would be put in position February.
In February.
Okay, correct. All right. That works.
So next month will be interviews, or February will be interviews.
Interviews would be basically,
By February.
would be between our Jan meeting, so we almost have to have a special meeting, or
Yeah.
we'd have to need a special meeting in there.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, in between January and February.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Well, when I interviewed for the board, I did it at a board meeting.
That's what I was just.
I did too.
Oh,
Yeah.
But
But we weren't interviewing then.
Well,
correct?
I gotta ask questions and things from the board.
It could be after the January meeting too. I mean, how do you guys want to do it?
Yeah, we could just save time after. Or we could make it part of it, really, quite frankly.
I think, you know, the sanitation district people themselves should, if they want to attend and hear what these people are, this is their opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And if they don't, then that's their choice, but like I said, my interview was that important.
So basically, we could ask the 3 or 4 or 5 parties to stand up and ask them why they want, and basically,
Whatever
just-
questions you have.
whatever questions we have for them, maybe we put a couple questions together, and we could do that January 1, and then we could almost make that decision that night. Really, we could just step aside. I mean, every other board meeting
Yeah.
that I've been a
Yeah.
part of too,
Yep.
we did kind of take care of it. I don't have a problem with that, if we take care of business right away.
Sure.
So are we going to get together then to do the questions or the format of the interviewing separately?
I think we can do that. Can we do that real quick with some emails real
Yeah.
quick back and forth? I
Okay.
think we could do that.
Okay.
I mean, they're just gonna be
Yeah.
general, generic questions, right? Okay. Great. Good talk. All right. Online payment.
It is not going as planned.
Work in progress is what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay, well, look, can we leave it at that?
We can, so Matt had talked about Venmo, but Venmo, we will be charged a fee, I think, if, that was the only issue that I have, so that makes me apprehensive.
How much was,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The other thing I was gonna say is, when you guys were working on bylaws, you had reached out to some other, was it Pekegama, or who was it? Do they have online payments, do you know?
Didn't ask.
Do you have a name of somebody you can give me? Because I'd
Yes.
like to just kind of
Yes.
reach out and find out what other people
Yep.
are using
Yeah.
to find
You
out.
know, yes.
Okay.
Yes,
If you
yes,
could,
and yes.
if you could give me that, I would appreciate it because,
I know the bigger ones they had some type of contracted, looked like pretty pricey
Yeah.
service type thing. I remember Googling what it was and thinking, whoa, that's not us. Anyway, but yeah, I'll get you.
or the other thing I thought of is reaching out to Unity Bank and seeing what they would recommend.
that's a possibility too.
And I don't know, but, so I will update you once I'll reach out to whoever
And
the contact is.
And bill pay works.
Yeah, it does, bill pay works, I mean, you know, but
Cross
that's,
Lake did start using it about the last quarter,
okay,
and they were shocked at how many people actually used it. Out
okay.
of the 500 and some, 200 and some, I think, have used it so
That's
far.
huge.
Wow.
Bill pay.
No, it's through some sort of online payment thing.
So it's Cross Lake?
Yeah.
Do you have a contact there that you could send me?
I'll get it for you.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
All right, so work in progress. We're gonna do a little bit more research on that.
yes.
Okay, very good. At least we're moving in that direction.
Yeah, I was shocked how many people did it.
Yeah. All right, the next one is the mailbox at the pump house, and we have an address for that.
Yay.
Yeah, and that, the driving factor was that you were having trouble with the plaid service because we can't use a PO box, right, for
Yeah.
the payment? So if we had this address, would
Yep.
that smooth this all over?
Yep, that might help. I mean,
Okay.
I would assume that would, yes.
Okay,
The other thing is, so I had Joe look, because we would have a mailbox to receive our mail at,
yeah,
but we've also talked about doing just a regular drop box, like on the side of the building, so that people could just drop their payments there or whatever.
yeah,
So that would have to be addressed, and Joe's like, it would be super easy to do, to just cut a hole in the side of it.
Oh, yeah.
Have a- I mean, like, that would not be hard, so I mean, when we do the mailbox, we should just do the drop box at the same time as well.
Sure.
So,
One thing, if, on the mailbox, Sue, can you contact the mail lady and see where they would like to see that?
Sure.
Because,
I'm guessing on the other side of the road.
right, and then that might be an issue because it's really whose property is that on the other side of the road? But we'll address that when it comes to it. And then I would say that we might as well put an address and name that pump house Shorewood Sanitary District with an address on it.
So I think they're assuming, so it's 50643 Shorewood Circle. That's the address. And I think we can put the box anywhere in that parcel that we want. We just need to make that decision and then let the post office know.
Okay,
Yeah. So we'll have to do some updating with the bank, with our checks,
Yeah.
with, you know, our different vendors and stuff.
We can move that forward as we start going
Yep.
forward, right? Once we get the mailbox there.
Yep,
All right.
so,
Now, Matt, didn't you say that you thought that we could do a mailbox, lockbox combination, so it's all in one?
Yes, yes,
So You wouldn't
absolutely.
need to have two things. It would be a combo mailbox,
Mailbox,
lockbox, drop, bills in it, residents, everything.
The
Yeah.
postal service though didn't allow things
Yeah.
that.
I
I can ask
I would
you.
check on that before I
Yeah.
did it.
because that would be my concern is if people are putting things in the wrong slot.
Yeah.
Because that could be a real
Problem.
I guess I just need, yeah, somebody would
Yeah.
have to ask more questions, but
Yeah.
it'd be nice if it would just be a one-stop shop.
It would, yeah.
Yeah.
I liked what you had mentioned the other night, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, when I used to live in a townhome community, the mailboxes were all locked. You know, all the boxes were locked on the front and the back,
Yep.
and I would just assume that that's what we would put in.
I'm sure our snowplow would love it if we had one huge section of
Yeah.
mailboxes as well.
Yeah, right.
So,
All right.
Expense too, that.
Yeah, it'll be an expensive mailbox. But,
okay. We talked about doing.
But even if you just did it just for the pump out, just for SPSD, you know what I mean?
yeah, right.
It wouldn't
just
do all
do-
the residents, it
No.
would just be the one
Yeah.
mailbox for SPSD, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
We talked about the duties list, right?
Yes, we did.
And we talked about Tina putting together her duties, and then basically, with those duties, we would kind of create a contract for your work, right?
Yep.
Okay? And then we have the rate increase letter that we're gonna get out.
Yes, so if everyone could take a look at that, like I said, I realized after, I was actually on my way here, because I had read it when I was printing them or whatever, and then I'm like, gosh, I never put what we're increasing the rate to, which would have been helpful to put
I
on
think we
there.
should put what the rate's gonna be, and then I think we define it, 10 for roads and plowing like we
Yep.
talked about, and 10 for, you know, the sanitary sewer district improvements and needs.
Yep,
I like how you kind of spelled out what was driving the increase,
Yes.
so people can understand what it was, what's attributed to.
so as, this letter will get longer because I'll add the information about adding the vacancy. But also in January, our Shorewood newsletter will be coming out. So I can add this information, some of these things in there as well. But if there's anything as board members or as residents that you want to see added into the newsletter, speak
I like
now.
the mailbox, that would be great, a newsletter item. I think that would be very exciting for residents to hear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I like the Dropbox idea, if you're still into paying hard copy wise.
Yep,
It may be not as excitable once you get the online payment thing working, but, you know.
You could just make like a spot in the pump house,
Well, that's
that they just drop it and then it just goes out.
that's what Joe was
Yeah.
talking about, it's just like, it's literally, we looked on Amazon, you just order, it's like a Dropbox.
Yeah.
And it just, it
It
would
goes
just,
right inside the
Yep,
pump house. and
exactly.
Up there, whatever you got.
and then I could just collect mail there, you know,
One thing
payments.
about that, then who has, do you want to have limitation on access to that pump house?
Well, who has access to it right now?
Well,
Us.
Is it by key or is there a lock? I don't even know how it's.
there's a lockbox there that the key is, that you can gain access to, so whoever has a combo for the lockbox,
Which should only be board members,
which is
correct?
board members, right, can get in there. What's that?
Forget the combination.
Yeah, you
Well-
forget it.
But if you're gonna have people, if you're thinking of rather doing a locked mailbox, you should really have, you know, one person being responsible for collecting, you know, if you just have a bucket or a bag, you know, you have 6 people that are having access to, you know, potentially, you know.
Again, I think, as far as, I think we're talking about two separate things.
Okay.
A mailbox, because I know right now, the mail lady, is she gonna wanna get out and put mail there, or is she gonna wanna be able to drive up and just put it in the mailbox, right? And if we cut something in for a Dropbox for billing or suggestions or whatever in the pump house, which we could do, which is something totally separate. I don't think she's gonna wanna get out and have to deliver our mail all the time.
Oh, no, no,
She
no. I'm thinking
won't.
about
She
residents
won't.
walking
She
up
won't.
and
Right.
throwing them into the pump house.
Right, so
She
the
had
pump
to
house
use her
is,
mailbox in the wintertime because of snow.
yeah,
She won't deliver them.
right, exactly. So I think we have a mailbox for mail, and then we have a slot in the pump house, and we talked about this,
Yeah.
and we have it drop into a little box what's inside there that we collect either checks or whatever, and we just check it at the same time. I think that'd be the route that we'd go.
You were
But I think
talking-
what Michelle's saying is that we should limit that access to that pump house then, because the bills are gonna, non-postage bills are gonna go into that pump house.
It'd be really easy to put a lock on a box on the inside there too.
Yes.
Okay,
And we'll just put a hasp and a lock on there,
got it.
and that would be locked internally, because
Perfect.
Terry and Terry's people have access to that pump house,
Oh,
or anybody else.
Even more so.
Right, so, I think just the added security in there, if we're gonna put a slot in there, it would be a box that's locked inside there.
Okay.
We should build it, just for the added security.
Right.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
With, back to this letter though, you said you were gonna add the amount of the increase to it. Would, under the plowing and snow removal, would this be a good spot to put a second paragraph to remind people that they need to?
I totally
Or do I
agree
put
with
that
you.
in the newsletter?
Or,
Or do I put it in the newsletter?
I think
Or
both.
yeah, put it, yeah,
Yeah.
yep, just the expectations of the snow plowing,
Yeah.
get that back out there again. That's a
And do
good
we
point.
want to contact residents either via letter or knocking on their door when they've got things that might be in the way of the plow?
I've thought about that, Paul, over and over again, and I don't wanna have to police everybody all the time.
Yeah.
If it becomes an issue based on money gap saying, I have an issue here, then I think we address it.
Okay.
We've been knocking on doors every month,
Yeah.
so, I mean, there might be a time that I forget, or I have a neighbor, or a friend
Yeah.
comes over, they're parking in the way, it's gonna be really a sliding thing.
Yeah, okay.
I think if it's gonna be the repeat offenders that we're gonna have to try to
Yeah.
address. So I think we put it out there, and we continue to remind people to look at the expectations. And then if we do have an issue and we get charged more money because of continuing expectations, that's when we have to drop it on the people and
Okay.
say, you have to step up. I think that's the approach we take.
Don't create the problem, wait until somebody says we've got one.
Right, that's kind of the
I
approach.
agree with that, yeah.
Yep. But I like the idea of, let's continue to
Yeah.
put that information out there, so everybody has the opportunity to hear it and see it. Anything else? Can I get a motion?
First motion to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks, guys.